Crypto Simplified in association with ZebPay and Forbes India, a podcast series on cryptocurrencies and their future, which is frankly anybody's guess. But what makes them tick? Why is there a sudden interest in virtual currencies? In India, over 15 million folks hold some or the other kind of digital currency. Joining me on the call this afternoon are Sayali and Niyati Thaker, partners at FinCocktail, an outfit that demystifies finance. The subject of this podcast is the interest among women in cryptocurrencies. Let's dive into it. Thanks, guys. Thanks for joining in.
Thank you for having us.
And when did you guys first hear about cryptocurrencies, and what was your first reaction? More like, it's a passing fad, it's too technical, or, ooh, interesting?
I'll begin that because it's all Niyati's fault. She drove me into it. Honestly, I had just heard about it in passing, but I had no idea that it had become so easy to invest in it here. And there was so much interest that was spanning across different generations. Like everybody from my grandma the other day asked me what is cryptocurrencies. I got a little stressed how to explain it to her. But yeah, Niyati sort of introduced me to it about, I think, a year ago, right?
Yeah, about a year ago.
When mothers and grandmothers start telling you stuff about WhatsApp and a new feature that gets introduced, you know that they are keen to get in. But jokes aside, Niyati, how did you learn about it before introducing it to Sayali?
Yeah, so my journey was slightly longer than Sayali's with cryptocurrencies. Maybe about 2 years ago, like all my friends were like, okay, let's buy this and let's buy that, and like it had become like this huge rage. I didn't know how simple it actually was to buy cryptos. You could do it with as little as like 1,000 rupees. And like everyone around me was doing it. So I was like, chalo, why not? Like, let's invest some money. So it started off as a very like teeny tiny sum, and without any research or like reading up about what it was. It was more like just joining the bandwagon at that point in time.
I think if you've got your calls right, then I think it was just 2 days ago when Bitcoin almost touched its all-time high. You must have gotten a few things right there. But do you have women come to you and ask about cryptocurrency more or less than before? What is the general interest in the asset class, so to speak? Because you guys field multiple prospects, and also you've got some interesting gigs that you keep doing on Instagram about general finance matters.
I don't know whether it is because we are women trying to demystify finance, or we come across as approachable just because we're doing this on Instagram. But a lot of women have questions. A lot of them ask us on basic things like, how do I start my first investment? I really want to do this by myself. Where do I begin, etc. But eventually, it always ends up with, acha, but what about cryptocurrencies? Okay. Because it is, I think it's like the new, it's new, it's shiny.
It's such a new asset class. Like it's something that is, everyone talks about equity, everyone talks about bonds and gold, and but like cryptos is like something new. People are intrigued more than anything else.
Yeah. And it's new, it's exciting, everyone is talking about it. So they're like, acha, so, but then little bit and people don't want to like miss out on it, I think. There's also this sort of FOMO going on. Where people don't want to miss out. So they always end up asking a question about, acha, but what about cryptocurrencies?
So do you like Google by the side? Oh, hang on, let me just see what's happening in the latest news, because this is, terribly volatile or mercurial. But the funny part is that if the traditional financial advisors, and with due respect to them, general perception is they tell their guys to, back off from it. You've got FDs, you've got gold, you've got, as Niyati, you were talking about the traditional sources. So then is it also that not too much information and the right kind is around to help folks to make the right decision? And of course, on the other hand, on social media, there is influx of information. How do you deal with that?
Like you said, that traditionally people who've been investing into other safer instruments, or like instruments that have been around for a while, are really skeptical about cryptocurrencies. Like really, for example, in our own parents, like Sayali's mom was so worried when she started investing in cryptocurrencies. And my parents, on the other hand, were like, oh, why don't you do this for us? Why don't you just invest? Like you take some money and invest it. And I'm like, Baba, I'm not taking this responsibility for doing this. If anything happens to your money, you all will kill me. So people
or you can wait until I get rich. And then
that's what I told them. I said, I'm doing it anyway, so don't worry. So like you said, people are kind of skeptical, wary about like what this entire space is about. And traditionally, if you would go to somebody who recommends stocks and mutual funds and all to you, somebody who's much older, will definitely not recommend cryptocurrencies. My perspective of this is a little bit different. Like, we think that it definitely merits a certain place in your portfolio because it's a new asset class. A lot of stuff is happening. It's not just Bitcoin or Ethereum, but it's the technology that is clearly evolving in this space. There are a lot of strides being made on a daily basis in terms of the technology. So it's definitely something that's going to be the next big thing, in my opinion. But that doesn't make it any less volatile. It is still new, right? It is still something that we need to be keeping in our mind. So what I like to tell most people is that it's best to apply the 90-10 rule here, which is don't invest more than 10% of your portfolio in cryptocurrencies because, then you just don't want to be taking that much of a risk. Or only invest the amount that is not going to make you lose your sleep.
Yeah.
If it's going to bother you at night that, my portfolio is down 50% and it's up like 30%, and up is never going to bother anybody. But if it's down 50%, people will lose sleep.
So your advice is only invest as much as you are willing to lose.
Yeah.
Which isn't going to bother you, which isn't going to stress you out at night.
Fair enough. And generally, do you think the pandemic had a little bit of a contribution to let people log on to the internet, try and find a little bit more? And yes, Niyati, you're right. Things have become simpler than what they were when you perhaps first entered in, because there was a time when folks had to actually buy or store cryptocurrencies in a physical wallet, which could be misplaced.
Yeah,
but now cryptocurrency exchanges do that for investors, where it's on 2 or 3 taps. But has the pandemic, you think, fueled some of this craze? Because recent stats suggest that even among women, there has been disproportionately high interest in digital currencies than it was a few months ago.
Absolutely. I definitely believe that the pandemic has not just sort of garnered interest in cryptocurrency, it's sort of gathered interest across, in general, the finance space.
Even mutual funds, like if you see, there are like new monthly SIP limits reaching each month, like they're reaching new highs each month in terms of monthly inflows into SIPs.
Even like the number of demat accounts that were open in the pandemic, it's just unheard of. And that's, I think, primarily because people were forced to take some time off. With time, people actually sort of realize that maybe they can do something productive with it. And then they're like, oh, okay, finance is something that I don't know much about. Let me read up about it. And then they actually started paying attention to it. And once you start investing your money, it's very difficult to just give it up, because investing your money is productive in a way where your money starts making money for you. Across all sort of asset classes, the interest has sort of gone up in the pandemic. But cryptocurrencies, definitely, because I think, like we said, it's the new, exciting, shiny new penny.
What do you attribute this to? Would you happen to pinpoint 2 or 3 factors why there is this sudden interest? So in terms of the interest level shown by women in crypto, is it any different as compared to men? Is it that they are more speculative or long term, or maybe a little more adventurous?
I feel like women traditionally have always been better at saving money as compared to men. So they already have that kind of pool of money set aside, which they then can take a little bit of risk with. The other thing, I feel like it's become so easy. It's so easy to just invest. It takes 10 minutes to set up an account and get going. So the ease of execution is also something that plays a big role, because, if I had to go through tons of paperwork and then go to the bank, do this, do that, I might not be motivated to do all of that. But if I'm sitting at home on my bed and just doing it in 5 or 10 minutes, then why not?
Right, true. I think that's a good point. The entry barrier, as they like to call it in any business, it's
in
barely
all my
anything.
marketing classes at MBA school, oh my God, they just came screaming back at me.
Blast from the past. But no, yes, isn't it? Because I think it probably, like on ZebPay, for instance, when I try to register myself, the KYC and the documents, they're all taken online. The speed at which it gets verified, obviously there are rules, it is legal, you have to go through the procedures, but as you say, you don't have to stand outside a bank to fill long forms. And unlike stock markets, crypto does not sleep. you could check what the price is in a night, try and invest.
Okay, yeah, which is why I said that if you're going to lose your sleep at night because you're just like on the app looking at like, where the
Because
price
it
is at.
happened in the beginning to Niyati herself.
Yeah, because the more I like sort of like started investing money, and I would like wake up in the middle of the night and just check, and I'm like, okay, this is not cool. Like this is not a good habit.
No, then I think that's where for junkies, if I may call some folks like this, at least at the beginning, is that you have the option of systematic investment plans, is what I read in even in crypto, where just like you have them for mutual funds, you could buy as little as Niyati. There was a time when it was 1,000 rupees, but now it's 100 rupees as well. What is your general advice other than don't invest any more than what you are willing to lose your sleep over? How do you guide your folks to say, okay, invest so much in Ethereum, in Bitcoin, there is Dogecoin, and there are some spurious names as well, where you don't know which way it will go. How do you deal with that? Because everybody wants to have a piece of the action, but they don't know where to start.
I think we always tell them to begin with like how you have large cap, the
blue chips,
Yeah, just like that, how you have Bitcoin and Ethereum, not just because they are large by market cap, because they've been around for, they've not shown up yesterday. They've been around for a while. And like Niyati said, there has been a lot of advancements in the technology behind it. See, cryptocurrency essentially is, at least right now in India, it's not used as a currency itself, correct? But there is a technology behind it, which is where it derives its value from. And that technology has applications in the real world, in the future, which is what we are all banking on. So the advancements in the technology is what you need to pay attention to. You may not be an engineer, you may not understand every single aspect of like how cryptocurrencies exactly work, but you can get a general idea. There's so much information that's available right now. Like just go on YouTube and search. There are like thousands of podcasters who are creating content on it. And some of them are really good. Do your research, number one, is always what we say. And number two is start with the big one. Start with like your Bitcoin and Ethereum. So start with that, then do more research. As you keep learning, you'll only start understanding where you want to put your money.
You're right. The whole crypto market as such is basing its faith that there will be applications on blockchain, which is the underlying technology on which that keeps tracks of all these transactions. How do you try and convince a skeptic into believing that, hey, this is for real?
Honestly, people don't need much convincing. I don't think that they need too much convincing.
You've not really convinced any people.
In fact, people kind of warn them that do it, but like go easy. Don't go crazy.
That's a good line. I mean, you might want to use it. Go easy, don't go crazy. Investing in cryptocurrencies.
Like, for example, now my mom is a skeptic, right? But I sort of convinced her with the same line that Niyati uses. Just saying that, but you're not going to lose your sleep over this much money. This much money doesn't matter to you. Just assume that you've like spent it. Like assume that you've spent it on a dinner, or assume you spent it on a purchase of something that you like. And forget about it. Let's see, keep it invested. You'll see if it grows. Great. If not, it's okay. It's gone already in your head.
I feel like there are going to be practical applications to this. The technology, which is essentially known as the peer-to-peer technology, is something which is decentralized. What it aims for is that there's going to be no middlemen or like banking or financial institutions which will play a role in this technology. They'll not be there. Essentially, it'll be like you and me. If I had to send you money, I could send you Bitcoin, or I could send you any other cryptocurrency. And like there's no bank, there's no other financial institution in the middle. This technology, while it's great, I feel like it's still going to be a while till it's widely adopted. Like there are still countries which accept, like Venezuela, like Coca-Cola in Venezuela accepts Bitcoin as payment. So it's random like that. So I don't know like practically when it will be widely adopted, but it might be something that might happen.
It started at a very nascent stage where El Salvador, they saw that I think a good 1/4 of their GDP is based on remittances, because expatriates send money back home to their parents, and then they do it through banks which charge a fat commission. They said, let's try Bitcoin, where there's absolutely no remittance charges, fees. Those fees themselves were to the tune of some $200 million or so. So I think that's one of those practical implications. Indeed, it wasn't as smooth as they would have liked it to be, but any new technology that even DOS at the time had you guys may not have even heard of Windows DOS. Let me take that back. This was a time when this was before the actual Windows operating systems were launched, and this was during the time when Apple and Microsoft would launch computers with 128 KB worth of operating systems.
Yeah.
General advice, what is it? Is it to stay invested and don't look at daily price fluctuations, like any stock or mutual fund, or is the advice any different for crypto?
So don't get stressed about daily fluctuations, and long term, yes, absolutely. Because what we're talking about, derived value from potential future applications, is just that it's going to come in the future. And right now it's still at a very nascent stage.
It is.
It's still so early in its sort of life cycle. These mutual funds and stocks and bonds have been around for like hundreds of years. Bechara, Bitcoin and all, they've been around for like 10, 20 years, and everybody's like, but so volatile. I said, yes, all of these things also were volatile when they first started off. Now they've had that kind of history and that kind of, journey in life where they have now stabilized,
gone through up cycles and down cycles, and now
and it's not like equity isn't volatile. It is also
like look at the past 1 year. When the market goes up, nobody really complains ever. But like if it's up 50-60%, that's insane, right? It could go down just as much. So there's nothing to say that it would.
And that is also volatility, just in the right direction that you want it, so you're happy. But that doesn't mean that it's still volatility. So I guess, yes, crypto is volatile. So are a lot of other asset classes, but it's very new. So give it some time. We think that it needs its sort of due course, and it will perform in due course.
Excellent. I think on that note, we can wrap this one up. Thank you, Sayali and Niyati, for your time. This was entertaining. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having us.
Thank you. And incidentally, Bitcoin is among the most volatile asset classes in the last 6 or 7 years. Despite all its volatility and mercurial nature, it gave more returns than any other asset class.
That's
true. The law of averages perhaps also kick in.
Thanks is true.
Yes.
Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Abhishek. Thanks.
Bye.